What have you guys been noticing lately when we form up raid on stream here? What have you guys been noticing in terms of getting the raid started and what we're always waiting on? It's a tank. We're always waiting on a tank. And the thing is, we're only waiting for one because I myself am, Samiccus, the Blood DK. Luckily for you guys, you have your designated big dick, always on top, the best around Blood DK tank Samiccus with you in raid. But we always need one more tank. And it's been taking longer and longer for us to get a freaking tank. And why is that? Is it because tanking in 11.1 is freaking shit? It's the worst? I think it is. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Tanking has taken a downturn ever since those fucking nerfs got implemented where Blizzard made tanks squishy, which is very anti everything and the reason why you would play a tank to begin with. Tanking used to be not about DPS, but about just being a survivable thing. Like, you could survive anything, take god hits, and be able to power through it, right? You needed DPS to kill things for you, you needed healers to keep up the DPS, but as a tank, you just felt semi-immortal. Blizzard took that away. Basically now, you hit like a limp dick, you move like a limp dick, you are a limp dick, and you're just an aggro stick for the most part. That's what it's like. Yeah, and positioning. Yeah. That's what it's mostly like when it comes to tanking nowadays, so I think less people are tanking. Let's see if Marcellian agrees with my take here on tanking and why it might be in its worst place ever.
What's up, YouTube? Also, why is Brewmaster so shit? Actually, is it the worst tank this season? Really? People said the same thing last season and it ended up being the second best tank in Mythic Plus. So what's going on? Simple. Brewmaster is the hardest tank to play, and in the hands of a bad player, it's gonna look way worse than any other tank available. But there is a way to make it work, despite it actually having real problems still. Brewmaster's damage was
Tanking has been easy for far too long, says Lano. Look, I think part of the reason why Mythic Plus became as hard as it did and why raiding got to the point where it did, where people were saying, oh, some of these fights are too difficult, is the squishiness of tanks. Tanks were kind of a filter for content, right? If content got too hard, a really good tank could power through it and kind of pull people along. That's not the case. You cannot be carried by a good tank anymore. Those days are gone. You need the entire group to carry their weight, almost more so than the tank now, because really the tank is not self-sufficient in any way, shape, or form. So the thing is, you're saying tanks should never have been immortal. What's the point of it? I mean, the point of a DPS is to pump big numbers. They're very capable of that. The point of a healer is to heal. What the hell was the point of a tank if not to be able to survive things? You couldn't go around and one-shot things on your own or kill things on your own because it would take forever to do it. But what you were able to do was survive on your own. That was kind of the fun of playing a tank, and that doesn't exist anymore. It's like telling DPSers, hey, you can't DPS without somebody else in your group. Well, then what the hell? Less people are going to play DPS then.
Just buffed recently, which addressed one of its main concerns, the threat. You would lose threat quite often as a Brewmaster, and if you are playing your rotation wrong, you will still lose threat in Mythic Plus.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh yeah.
Bro.
Threat generation's also a thing that's become very annoying. Threat generation was never a thing for the longest time. If you played classic WoW, okay, threat was a thing. Even leading into Burning Crusade, you really had to keep up on threat. Threat meters were a thing. DPS had to throttle and shit like that. But that went away for a long time. Threat was just like, well, tank taunts, tank will have aggro the entire fight. That doesn't exist anymore. Yes, now holding aggro as a Blood DK with Blood Boil, it gets fucking dicey as shit at times.
Where's my
Why
statue?
always aggro? Why always problem? Why Brewmaster shit?
Or maybe your issues with it are different and your keys have encountered other stuff, so let us know in the comment section below, because I'm curious if I'm encountering the same issues on my end. So,
by the way, Cadence's comment there, I'm sorry, but 2 tanks shouldn't be able to take a final boss from 2%. Cadence is referring to the time that me and him both did that. We did do that, but by the way, to be able to take a boss from 2% to 0% with only 2 tanks still up requires near perfection. Okay, that was not something that's easy to pull off, not something that'll typically happen with just anybody who picks up a tank and starts playing. You had to damage mitigate and pull everything off perfectly. And that's always existed in WoW. If a player plays their class to the optimum, like goes literal freaking Super Saiyan God mode, yes, they can pull off some extraordinary things, and that's always been a fun thing in the game, to see people pull off the extraordinary. And then Blizzard sees that and nerfs it into the ground, so it's not possible anymore, even with high player skill. So It happens. Yeah, I think Cadence carried. Well, you know, people got their own lore in their heads. That's fine. If it's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah, the video addresses the Mythic Plus scenario since in raids you won't have most of these issues anyway. But coming back to the damage, what was mostly buffed was Blackout Kick, which now does real damage. No kidding, I hit Blackout Kicks or strikes or whatever for 2.3 million damage each. I'll have something on the screen to show you since as I am writing this I cannot recall some of the biggest numbers yet. And buffing your Tiger Palm with Blackout combo gets out Tiger Palms that can crit
realm to destroy.
Death Mutcher, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge.
upwards to 2
VIP.
million per hit.
Maybe
and this
that.
is your spammable filler ability. The potential is there, but the issue is also inherently there. Tiger Palm is a single target ability, and Blackout Kick will only start to hit more targets if you have Shadow Boxing Threads talented, which you will, and even then it will hit only 3 targets, leaving the buffs to your damage to affect very few enemies at a time. An
Right.
easy way to play this to your advantage is to target swap whenever you use Blackout Kick to make sure you damage as many mobs as equally as possible.
sounds difficult.
This is a playstyle that has kind of been lost to tanks for years, since it's something not a lot of people like to do. But
Heroic.
because of that, it feels like a cheat code sometimes for being something so basic. Rotating targets to make sure you hit everyone with Blackout Kick involves more work on your part than simply pressing Spirit Bomb on a Vengeance Demon Hunter.
Yeah, Vengeance Demon Hunter, fucking dashing and hopping and jumping everywhere, using their third leg to fucking pull aggro. Like, yeah, Demon Hunter, by far and away, they're not just the best tank right now for Mythic Plus. They're also the easiest. That's why any Jack and Jill off the street can pick up a Demon Hunter and be like, hey, I've learned how to tank today. Yeah, it's far more easy.
But this is the theme of today's video. Brewmaster is the worst tank in the
Oh,
game.
100%. You're going to what me on this? You're going to what me on what the easiest tank to play in the game? Disagree? Yeah, okay. Oh, look at all. Oh, it's all the Demon Hunters in the chat disagreeing right now. Why? Okay. Yeah, says the Blood DK. No, Blood DK is way harder than Demon Hunter to play. What are you talking about? No, you're nuts. No, you're nuts. No, Demon Hunter is the hardest. No. This is not true. Blood DKs are so squishy, man. If you're not healing constantly or damage mitigating constantly, you're going to die, let alone holding aggro is like nearly impossible as a Blood DK because you do no damage. You think Demon Hunters have problems holding aggro? They're pumping damage out their asshole. You think they have a problem holding aggro? No. Bear is like 2 buttons? Well, yeah, but Bear is not even a good tank right now. So I mean, nobody's going to play it. It's all people who live in reality in chat. Is Demon Hunter tank easier than Death Knight tank? We're going to ask AI. Vengeance Demon Hunter is often considered easier.
Ooh, let's enhance that. Hold on, let's zoom in here.
Wow. To pick up due to its simpler core rotation and high mobility. Interesting. You build resources, you build furry, Demon Hunters build furries, okay. With the ability to, like, fracture, yeah. With strong defensives and cooldowns like Demon Spike, Metamorphosis, yeah. Makes it easier to reposition, kite enemies, or escape danger, which can feel intuitive and less punishing to newer tanks. This is crazy. Wow, it's like AI is revealing factual statements here. However, Vengeance Demon Hunter can be less forgiving if mismanaged like Demon Spike. Yeah, that doesn't fucking matter. Whatever. Blood Death Knight, on the other hand, has a more... Let me see. Hold on. Let me zoom in a little bit more here. Okay, let me enhance this to the max. Has a more... where is it? What? Simpler... I zoomed in too much. I fucking overdid it. I overdid it. I can't fucking read this anymore. Okay. Death Knight, on the other hand, has a more complex rotation and resource management system. Interesting. Oh, okay. You juggle runic, power, and runes. Very true. Using abilities like Morrowind to maintain bone shield stacks, Heart Strike and threat, Height Strike for threat and resource generation, and Death Strike for reactive healing. Like I said, wow, reactive healing. That's harder to do than just fucking active healing. Based on damage taken. This... It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I love AI. This requires more planning and awareness of incoming damage, as Death Strike's healing is tied to timing rather than Spamming. Wow, it's like what I said. It's what I said. Oh my god. This is crazy. Let's keep reading. I'm enjoying this. Blood decays excel at self-sustaining with massive healing potential and strong mitigation tools like Vampiric Blood and Icebound Fortitude, but their lack of mobility, one of the issues I spoke about, outside of Death's Advance, which only has 2 charges if spec correctly, can make them feel clunky in situations that require quick movement. The higher skill ceiling comes from optimizing cooldowns and reacting to damage spikes effectively. Let's read the summary. If you didn't understand what I just read here, let's summarize it all for you, all the slow people in chat. In summary, Vengeance Demon Hunter is generally easier for beginners due to its simpler mechanics, forgiving mobility, and less demanding resource management. What the fuck? Blood Death Knight offers more control and survivability, but requires greater mastery of its toolkit and timing. Wow. Interesting. Interesting. How that works. Yeah. Caught and what? Yeah. Wait, the beaver can read? Only sometimes. Like the date? Yeah. Making it trickier to play optimally. If you prefer fast reactive playstyle, Demon Hunter might feel easier. If you enjoy methodical, self-healing powerhouse, Death Knight could be more rewarding once you get the hang of it. So there we go. I mean, the data is in. This is based off of 15 web pages of information. We now have confirmation that Samiccus wasn't... Man, that's a fucking giant bald head. What the hell? That is a really big fucking emote. Yeah, but you haven't mastered the toolkit. Well, here's the thing. It requires extreme, attention to detail and everything else, which I can't give personally while I'm streaming, right? Because I got to manage everything that's going on around me, plus the stream, plus the degenerates in chat who spam bald heads everywhere. So, I always love to prove myself right. And sometimes as a man of the people, I don't like to do it to the people, but sometimes the people need to be put in check. And that's what just happened here. So I'm glad someone can see behind the curtain.
The pack, pop Spinning Crane Kick. As you move to the next pack this way, you can still pulsate some AoE damage while not having to face the mobs you just pulled, making sure you never let them hit you in the back, by the way. As you do this, if you have legit aggro issues, make sure you use your...
DK is not easy. It's extremely reactionary, and it's become more reactionary than it used to be because of what they did to Deathstrike. Deathstrike used to be a straight-up heal. Now it's only a damage reversion heal. Basically, you got to take the damage to heal the damage. So... Scam? Is that what you said? It's not a fucking scam, okay? Look, here's the thing. Skip? Oh, you're saying skip. Okay. DK is extremely reactionary in its play style, right? You gotta literally intentionally sometimes take damage to heal damage, right? Start the raid. This is BS. Okay, if you say so. I'm not saying Monk is easy. It's not. The way they gotta play Monk is extremely hard. But to say that Demon Hunter is not one of the easier tanks, oh my god.
Black Ox statue.
Come on.
And I'll show you a build that can take
be
it
honest here
and
in the
lets you
chat.
push keys. Although it has nothing to do with your damage, you want to pop Fortifying Brew here. Without proper buffs and procs that come around once you are in combat for a while, you are extra squishy. And I bet you have seen those tanks that jump into a pack and die in 2 seconds, wondering, what happened? Don't be that tank. Rotate Keg Smashes, Breath of Fire, and Spinning Crane Kicks until you have grouped up the mobs. Pop your weapons of order and DPS trinkets, Exploding Keg, and then just focus on using your blackout combos on Keg Smashes if you are struggling with surviving, or Tiger Palms if you want more damage, rotating targets of course on Shadow Pan. For Aspect of Harmony, you replace Spinning Crane Kicks with Rising Sun Kicks and Tiger Palms.
Care about,
since you have...
It's not about caring about, what's it called, Monk rotation. It's not. It's just, he's just talking about the current state of tanking. And right now, yeah, Monk's probably in the worst spot.
Overwhelming Force talent for
because all this
damage.
shit they got going on.
This shoots out the damage in a line in front of you, so you want to make sure you are facing the target.
Whereas like Demon Hunter tanks just open their butthole and I-beam out of it. There's nothing that hard about it. You could play Demon Hunter with your left nut.
You want to damage. As a Harmony Monk, you hardly ever press Spinning Crane Kick, although it still is a useful ability to use when picking up mobs if aggro is an issue. Again, this is not a guide on optimizing damage, but rather a helpful set of tips to make sure you get the job done. Every pool is different, and depending on your party, your rotation can change. Don't get me wrong, even optimizing your damage, you won't turn any heads this season with your DPS meter. Tanks are doing probably record low damage compared to DPS specs right now. The odd Prot Warrior or Blood Decay exception is just that, an exception. Damage for tanks is relative. What matters is aggro.
Yeah, I mean, on my Blood DK, yes, I can put out like an AoE pulls. If I do Mythic Plus, I'll show you guys. You guys aren't going to believe me. But I'll pull like a 3 mil pull, 3.2 mil, whatever, like on my Blood DK. Yes, it does happen when the pulls are optimized and everything works out perfectly and you pump the rotation right. But for the most part, that's an anomaly. You got to get the perfect pull together to make that happen. Single target, you're still going to hit like shit.
And where the devs want the tank damage to be. They can just arbitrarily decide tanks will do 10%
Sam,
of
you
the
literally
DPS
don't know
of
your
a damage
rotation.
dealer, but their threat is increased by 1,000,000% to compensate for it. Or they can do 90% of a DPS player's damage, but their threat is adjusted accordingly. Tank DPS is basically at the whim of where the dev design wants it to be, so all we can do is make sure we don't lose aggro. Brewmaster struggles hard with this, but as long as you are aware of your weakness, you can play around them.
Here's the thing about my Sim DPS, okay? Sim DPS doesn't account for me raid leading, okay? That's what I'm doing here. I'm looking around constantly, trying to make sure everyone's doing their job. Is Group 1 popping the mines? Are the bombs getting taken care of by the giant rolling balls of garbage? Like, these things are not calculated in the Sim. If I want to be a selfish-ass bitch, I can just pump my shit together and sim the fuck off of the boss. But I'm not going to do that. Because I'm going to uphold my title as a man of the people, and I'm going to be of the people, by the people, for the people, and I'm going to lead the people to success. That's what's going to happen. And my damage will suffer as a result.
And yeah, I know other tanks don't have to min-max the shit out of their globals like this, but what can you do? Now, the second main issue is defensives, and here it gets tricky. You are a squishy tank.
Yes, you are.
Brewmasters have been squishy since BFA or Shadowlands era, when they were the meta tank and had some big nerfs to their HP pool and stagger contribution.
Yeah.
To be fair, the power of stagger is something that keeps going back and forth depending on where the devs want.
Is this entire video about fucking monks right now? Are we watching an entire video about a fucking Brewmaster? Jesus
on
Christ.
Brewmasters to be, and it seems where it is
Yes.
now is where they want it to be.
I feel misled.
Stagger is very strong, and because of that, it's hard to make Brewmasters tanky without making them unkillable. Enough history lessons though, so how do you not die in keys now? The main issue with your current tankiness is that your most iconic defensive, Invoke New Zhao, is a terrible ability to get with.
I want to hear him talk about the 2-button rotation that is Demon Hunter. Is he going to get into that or not? Is that going to happen today?
Very minimal benefits. So bad, in fact, that it has been a dead talent since early Dragonfly, if I recall. Because of how it used to work in Shadowlands, where it converted stagger damage you take into more damage you deal, it used to be an offensive cooldown. Surely not intended by the devs, and since the talent rework that we got saw it retain that functionality, it probably was nerfed too much to the point where you lose out on damage and or tankiness by picking it. In a world where your damage is atrocious to begin with, this is just not a good trade-off. Without spending too much time on this and all of these other talents
He's
that
already
are
spent too
dead
much time
and
on it.
haven't been used in likely years, let me just say that it is unacceptable for a tank, or any spec for that matter, to have dead capstones and its most iconic cooldown also dead. This needs a serious rework. As for not dying now in this season, outside dungeon knowledge, tank bosser knowledge, and people not stopping casts from going through, you need to be on top of 3 things. One would be the obvious, your big defensives, as in your Fortifying Brew, your Dampen Harm, and your Diffuse Magic. Fortify Brew is a simple damage reduction. Dampen Harm is the same damage reduction.
I'm not going to disagree with him. I'm sure that Monk tank is the hardest tank to play right now. I'm not saying it's not. But to say that, what's it called? Blood decay is not difficult. It's fucking difficult, okay? It is.
Unless you're taking big hits, which can be reduced for more, and Diffuse Magic is magic damage reduction, a really powerful one actually, that functions as a dispel as well. Because of how they work, they should be intuitive to use. Don't sit on them, but also don't just fire them off on cooldown. Try to time them with big pulls when you expect to take big damage and not after you take it. They can also work to offset your lack of Purifying Brews if you run out of them, filling in the gaps of your defensives. Speaking of purifying brew, the second thing is managing it. This changes based on key level, which means it relies on how much damage you take. You never really want to sit on it and have it off cooldown for long, but you don't want to run out of it as well and have a red stagger bar for too long, or you turn into a DPS spec at that point as far as your tankiness is concerned. If you don't know when the right time to purify is, try this simple rule. Wait until your stagger is red or maxed out and then use Purifying Brew. If you never get to that point
I'm
again,
not gonna play
it
this,
means
so
you
I
are
don't
not
matter.
taking a lot of damage and can use Purifying Brew more freely.
Why didn't he title this video Brewmaster Tanking Guide? Heal yourself. Okay, got it. Yep, sure. Okay, and then what else is left?
Has
I got
work twice as
clickbaited.
much to do what warriors
That's
and
what
demon
I feel like
hunters
happened
casually
here.
use one button for. The end result is
But guess what I'm going to do? I'm also going to take this video, since I talked over it most of the time anyways, and I created an entirely separate video outside of the video we just watched, I'm going to title this video something about the, the state of tanking in WoW or something like that. Because at this point, my video, which is a reaction to his video, is no longer about monk tanking. It's actually about Vengeance Demon Hunter being the fucking Playboy's tank in the game right now, and how everyone who thinks they play Vengeance Demon Hunter can run around with their dick flopping everywhere and pull 100 mobs at once because they're dashing around and doing all this shit, think they're actually good at the game. They're not. They're just pushing a couple buttons, eye-beaming shit and doing their little thing. Okay? They're not dealing with all the shit that a Blood DK has to deal with.
similar, however, but it doesn't
Mind you, they're actually doing damage too, so they can hold aggro.
feel fair sometimes. Brewmasters need a rework bad, and I'm not a master at the spec or the most
Ridiculous.
knowledgeable drunk bastard out there, but some people are. Equinox, a top Brewmaster monk, made a 5-minute video explaining the issues of why Brewmaster is not a meta tank and what it would need to get there.
Yeah,
The
but look what his video was titled, Marcellian. It's titled, Why Isn't Brewmaster Ever Meta? What the fuck? You titled this video something, is tanking worse at 11.1. You fucking baited me.
is in the description, so check it out. But it does revolve around the spec needing a rework. The tankiness tuning feels off every season. The damage is either done
What do you mean that's not what it says? It says, is this really the worst tank in 11... Oh. Did he just change the title? He changed the title. That's not that. He changed the title. He changed the title. Yeah, no, it's not. That's not what it says. That's not what
the
it says.
highest in the world or the lowest garbage possible.
He must
and
have
there
changed
are
it
about 8
after I
dead
clicked
talents
it.
in the spec tree that have little to no usage or play in any relevant content. Or do you disagree? Brewmaster is one of the most fun tanks. Despite it being unpopular, and being unpopular doesn't mean you cannot enjoy it. Which is why we ranked the most unpopular DPS specs this season in this video right here, because you can still enjoy it, even if they're not meta or played enough.
So maybe I misread the title. But here's the thing. We created an entirely different video out of this, and that is the current state of tanking in the game is shit. That's the truth. It's across the board. Unless you're playing Vengeance Demon Hunter, which is basically the playboy of the game right now with their nips out and their blindfolds and everything else, thinking that they're actually good at the game when all they're really doing is dashing everywhere and fucking planting on everything and holding aggro with their left arm tied behind their back because they're doing so much damage. Okay. That takes a lot of skill, sure. Everyone else is playing the game on hard mode. And that's why tanking isn't fun right now, and that's why we can't get any fucking tanks for the raid. Good video from Marcellian.